Yeah, the goal today is just kind of give an overview of Tenant Turner for any of the new franchisees that are out there. For any of the existing franchisees who've been using Tenant Turner for a while, if you guys have any questions or anything we want to dive into, we can definitely take a look at that. And then anything new and upcoming that we have, we'll definitely share that with you as well. And as Aaron mentioned, we've got some new, kind of some self-access partners, more on the front of the Prem Points, who have the Bluetooth locks, Point Central, who has the full smart home automation. And we can talk about how we can integrate with those types of tools, what value they provide, and at a high level, what estimated costs of those are. So hopefully today can be very collaborative, and we can have a good conversation about the tenant lead management side, the showing coordination side, as well as the self-access component. And we'll just dive right in, okay? So I'm going to
Sounds great.
Screen here. Make sure it all works. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yep, we can see it.
All right, perfect. So first, for the new folks who may not be familiar with Tenant Turner, I'll give you a quick overview. We are a tenant lead management and scheduling coordination software, and we offer electronic lock boxes that are an option for your vacant properties. And then we also have another optional service for a leasing line call center that gives your prospective tenants more access to a real person, nights, weekends, and whatnot, to get them pre-qualified and scheduled. With Tenant Turner, we will purchase for you. We will create a new email address for you. And basically any of the guest cards you're receiving today, any of the tenant lead phone calls you're receiving today, those will come directly to us. And so I know you guys are hyper-focused on growth, adding new doors. And one of the biggest impediments to that is the distractions from tenant leads. We can help take that off your plate. I'm sure as you guys have probably dealt with, you realized for every one person you talk to that could potentially be a good fit, there's another one that's a complete waste of your time. And it's really, it's a coin flip. And so with Tenant Turner, what we'll do is we'll field those inquiries. We'll follow up with people immediately, so that way they can get through the process on their own, whether it's 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night or 10 a.m. on a Sunday. We'll automatically follow up additional times in order to get them pre-qualified. That we see increases the likelihood that they'll schedule a showing by 38%. And then you guys have the opportunity to set your restrictions so that we can pre-qualify people and book their appointments, whether that's with you, a team member, or with one of those self-access hardware technologies. Okay. One thing I just call out real quick is I know most of you guys, if not all of you guys, are using AppFolio, and so we can integrate with your AppFolio. Basically what we'll do is pull over any of the properties that you post to website, and those rentals will automatically import into Tenant Turner. Any changes you make to pictures, description, pricing will automatically be added to your account, and then you'll be able to activate them in Tenant Turner. And what that means is you're basically assigning an electronic lockbox or assigning the rental to the appropriate person. Okay. And if at any point you guys have any questions, just shout at me. We'll stop and we'll dive deeper into it. But based upon that quick overview, does anybody have any questions? Okay. So what we'll talk about now is just what it's like to activate a rental. As we mentioned before, a key component to this is actually pre-qualifying your prospective tenants. So in AppFolio, you're probably used to setting your pet policy. That will automatically be imported into your Tenant Turner account. And that's a common restriction we see that allows us to weed people out earlier in the process. They don't want to go see a property and waste their time if they can't qualify. And you don't want to waste your time meeting somebody at a property if ultimately they can't qualify. So if you've got properties where, maybe the owner says no more than one dog, we can configure that within Tenant Turner and weed out anybody who doesn't meet your qualifications. If the owner says no pets whatsoever, or maybe no to government housing vouchers, you can go ahead and configure that in Tenant Turner and not have to worry about going to the property and showing those prospects who ultimately won't qualify. Down here, you are able to configure a wait list, which is great for any of your rentals that are coming soon. This is particularly helpful when you have an owner who is on top of it and they want to see their property listed out on Zillow and Trulia and HotPads, but you know that you can't get people into that property either because of the current occupant or because the home needs to undergo some maintenance. You can post it through Tenant Turner, you can post it online, and what we'll do is we'll build up a list of prospective tenants, let them know that it's coming soon, and as soon as you're ready, you'll be able to turn that wait list off and we'll notify each lead to come in to schedule an appointment. Self-access is pretty straightforward. The way that we do this is we'll allow any prospective tenant who passes through our fraud detection checks, who meets your minimum qualifications, and who uploads a photo ID will be able to book an appointment with one of the electronic or mechanical lock boxes. So a common thing, that's been going on in our industry for years is, Craigslist scam. Somebody hijacking a property, putting it on Craigslist for half the rent amount, and that is becoming more and more prolific with the more property managers who do self-access. It allows these scammers in different countries to seem more legitimate because they now have access codes to a rental property, even though they're not here in the country. So what Tenant Turner does is we've partnered with a third-party fraud detection tool, and it allows us to take email address, phone number, and IP address of the tenant lead, send it to our third-party fraud detection tool, and they will generate a fraud score for us. If the fraud score doesn't meet our threshold, we're going to flag that person as fraud and prevent them from moving forward to be able to access the rental. So we've also built in some very recently, we're now starting to utilize artificial intelligence that allows us to immediately identify that person's, that bad actor's email, phone, and IP address, and then associate it with other leads that have come through our system. And it creates a network of bad leads that we're able to automatically blacklist in real time. So the technology is there to make self-access more secure for you guys and your owners. And for anybody who's doing it, you've already realized the benefits of not having to drive to the properties, not having to worry about no-shows, and giving tenant leads access to view your properties 7 days a week, before work, evenings, and when you have opportunities to be doing other things like meeting with owners and growing your business. So that's self-access. On the in-person front, there's a lot of different configurations you can use here. As you can imagine, self-access viewings are a great way to get people into your vacant units. In-person showings, obviously the ideal path for anytime you have occupied properties or rentals in areas that you either really want to show because maybe you're not getting a lot of leads, it's a high-end property and you think you can do a better job selling the person on that property if you're there. So that's a great opportunity for an in-person showing. Also on the other end of the spectrum, if you have rentals where the person does not, the rental is in an area that, is going to attract people that should probably be supervised, in-person appointments are another great way to make sure that happens. So you can schedule, one-on-one appointments if you so choose. You can have us book small groups, or if you wanted to, you can have as many people as you want, and we can do more of an open house style. You can configure how long you want your showings to be, how much of a notice you would want before people can book appointments with you, and we can even set a buffer before your trip to the rental to ensure you don't get booked for a showing appointment while you're in transit to a different property. And for any of you guys who aren't using a showing coordinator like Tenant Turner, this feature is extremely helpful. We can limit your showings to once per day, and this will allow us to only book one appointment and multiple people for that time slot, so that way you don't have to have multiple appointments for the same rental. Or you can limit your trips to the rental to once per day, which allows us to automatically cluster your appointments around when you're going to be at that property. So great tools to help out there. The automation doesn't stop at the scheduling. We can also automatically notify any current occupants of upcoming appointments. So you give us their email address and or cell phone number, and we can email and or text them. You can have multiple occupants here. So if it's a husband and a wife or a group of roommates, We can text them, we can email them, and you don't have to do that. You don't, that's one of those tasks that often gets forget about. And it's also one of those tasks that if you don't remember to do it, can turn into a negative review online. So this ensures that it happens 100% of the time. For in-person appointments, you have the opportunity to have general availability, which is essentially if you want to show properties 10 to 4 Monday through Friday, you can reuse your general availability across all of your rental properties if you'd like. You can even connect your calendar, your Google Calendar, your Outlook calendar to your Tenant Turner account, and that will allow us to check those calendars for conflicts. So whether you're doing a new owner meeting, or you've got an inspection, or you've got a dentist appointment, all of those will show up on your calendar. We'll see that you have a conflict at that time, and we'll prevent people from being able to schedule when we see that you have a conflict. Another option you have is rental specific availability. For those of you who have been doing this long enough, you know that just sometimes you have some properties, either because of their geography, or you have some tenants because of their job, because of their kid, because of their pets. They are going to limit when you can show those rentals. So here, instead of using your general availability, you can use rental specific availability, and those can be on repeating days, or you can set a specific date for when you want to show a particular rental property. And if you have a team of folks that you're starting to build who can help you show those rentals, you can assign it to different people and have different time blocks based upon who's going to show those individual time blocks. So really helpful tool for those in-person appointments where you need to be a bit more specific than what your general availability can offer. With your leads, as we talked about before, all will come into Tenant Turner. All will get replies from Tenant Turner and have the opportunity to get themselves pre-qualified. So one of the things that folks really enjoy is being able to see at a glance who's a good fit and who's not. So if the person is not a good fit, either because their income is too low, they don't meet your minimum qualifications, or like with this example, Christine Fitzgerald, if they have any sort of potentially fraudulent items associated with them, they will be automatically archived, and you know not to have to worry about them. As you guys have probably seen, about 50% of leads, they're either not really interested in your rentals, these are the tire kickers, the window shoppers, or they just really don't meet your minimum qualifications. They have pets and it's a no pet property, or they have a Section 8 voucher and you guys aren't accepting government vouchers for that particular rental. So we'll weed those people out, kindly let them know why they're not a good fit so they don't continue to follow up with you. And then anybody who is a good fit, who has a score of 6 or above, those folks will be able to schedule an appointment either with you or one of those electronic lock boxes. But the pre-qualification is great. We can automatically calculate if they're a good fit based upon their desired move-in date compared to when the rental's actually available for move-in. We can identify any financial or legal issues in their background and dynamically ask them follow-up questions like what year it occurred and for what reason. And then things like income, we can automatically calculate an income to rent ratio. So at a glance, you and your team can see whether this person's a good fit or not to move forward. And with Tenant Turner, it's great having all of this lead data in one place. You guys are a very data-centric organization, so I'm sure you can appreciate having things consolidated in one area. With that, it allows us to generate these reports that can be automatically sent to your property owners. You pick the day, you pick the time that you want us to send these reports, and then you just include the owner's email address or addresses. Some of our customers, they put the owner's email address in here. Others will put their address or a PM's address in here, review the content before forwarding it on with kind of an executive summary of what they see in the data. Really up to you. You know, what we're going to do is automatically send it to whoever is in this field. You can choose whether or not you want us to include the feedback in that report, and then we'll send them this information that includes how many leads have come in for their rental, how many of those leads have gone through to get pre-qualified, how many have been scheduled, and how many viewings have occurred. We'll also be able to show them any of the feedback that we collected, and we'll include one of your company logos in that email that we send off to them. Other reports that Tenant Turner offers are, regarding rental activity, or lead source report, which is another great one because it'll tell you specifically where your leads are coming from. Are they calling in? Are they emailing? This is particularly helpful if you want to gauge the how well the call center might be working for you. If you want to gauge if it's worth you posting to Craigslist and other places that you may be manually posting to. It can also, show you how much interest you're getting from for rent signs or your website compared to online listing sites like homes.com, realtor.com, and things of that nature. All of Tenant Turner's reports can be searched, filtered, and even exported into a different format if you guys wanted to do some additional slicing and dicing of data. So super helpful reports. One in particular that's really helpful is this CodeBox Access report. We'll talk a little bit about, the self-access component. As I mentioned, all of the leads that come through Tenant Turner will get pre-qualified. We'll run them through that third-party fraud detection check, and then we'll make sure that only the best fit get access to your rental properties. When they do get access to your rentals, what we'll do is we'll send you an email notification letting you know to the minute when they arrived at the rental. We log here in your Tenant Turner account that they when they arrived, when they were scheduled, what if any message they received, as well as the unique code that we generated for them. The codes that we generate for those code boxes are only good for the day that you've authorized that person to be there, and they're only good for a 2-hour window from when they're entered into the code box itself. Now, in a little bit, we'll talk about some of the new self-access technologies with PrimPoint and Point Central, and those tools can even be more secure and provide you even more data as to when people are going, when they're leaving, and other items like that. For your code boxes, though, you do have the opportunity to send codes to people, in addition to us automatically sending them to your prospective tenants, to your tenant leads. If you have vendors going by your properties where there's a code box attached to it, let's say you've got a painter or a cleaner or a handyman going by, instead of them coming to your office to pick up a key, or instead of you meeting them out at the property, you can send them a code. So we have this code box attached to this rental, and we've got the painter going by later today. So we're going to send that painter a code for later today. And all Tenant Turner needs from you is that person's cell phone number, so that way we can text them the instructions for them to receive a code. And we do recommend that you include the person's name and company, and that just helps with your reporting within the Tenant Turner system. Another option you have, if you guys utilize the same contractors, you can add them as an authorized contact within Tenant Turner. So, for example, Mark Coleman here, he's the same handyman that's used on all the rental properties. So by adding him into this account, Tenant Turner will send him a text message with instructions on how to get a code when he arrives at the rentals. And all he needs to do is text the serial number off the top of the code box. When he does that, he receives a notification. He didn't need to call you first. He didn't need to get you to manually send him a code. As long as he's on this list, he will be able to get a code anytime he goes to one of your rental properties. And if at any point you and Mark have a falling out and you don't want him to have access to your rentals anymore, you just come over here, remove him as an authorized contact. And for any of you who've been doing this for a long time, that now means you don't have to manually go out to the property, manually change the codes on those mechanical lock boxes, because now you have a vendor who's walking around with your static code. Anytime you add an authorized contact, they get the codes automatically, and it's a unique code each time they get one. Okay. So that's the self-access component. What I'd like to just jump into now, or before I do that, let me see if anybody has any questions. But the next thing we're going to talk about is just the PrimPoint and Point Central integrations. Does anybody have any questions about Tenant Turner or the code boxes before we jump into something else?
Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Fariba from Sacramento. Is there any way that when we have a self-access, you have to send someone to put that access in the home, right? Outside. Is there any way everywhere we have cameras now? Is there any way you can install a camera at somewhere inside so we can see what time they go and the image of whoever going in? Is that something you guys are looking into it or will come soon, hopefully?
That's a great question. And one of the biggest impediments that we as a software provider and you guys as property managers will deal with is that you can only allow self-access on vacant rentals. And vacant rentals normally don't have internet connectivity. They don't have somebody there who's paying for Wi-Fi. And oftentimes those cameras are connected to a wireless signal. With Point Central and our integration with that particular partner, they provide whole home automation that allows for you to connect cameras to the Point Central system. And the Point Central hub actually has a cellular connection to allow for data, such as pictures and access information, to constantly be flowing from the home to a dashboard that you guys would have access to. And so that's a great way to kind of implement a solution to the problem you're talking about. And it ensures that you don't have to have Wi-Fi at the rental because the Point Central hub itself has a cellular connection to it. But as we'll talk about in a little bit, there is, a cost and a decent sized cost to that to be able to allow for that type of data connection to occur.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Sure thing. One thing I will talk about is not one of our partners, but it's a new lockbox that's out there now, and it is really expensive, more expensive than probably most property managers would be willing to pay. But the box itself has a camera on it, and so it actually just received an innovation award at a consumer electronics show. And so that's a good sign for us as an industry because it means, there's hardware providers out there who are innovating on it and see the same problem that you do. But the challenge that we're faced with now is that there's just a high cost to that. And with all things technology, the cost will come down over time. I just don't think it's there yet.
James, what percentage of your clients currently do use the self-access versus the in-person showings?
Great question. I would say the percentage of clients that do self-access is probably over 50%. I'd say upwards of 60%. The percentage of homes that are active on Tenant Turner that do self-access is more like 20%. So there are people who are bought into the idea of self-access using the electronic lock boxes. We have about 5,500 electronic lock boxes deployed throughout the country, and so it is being used to a wide scale. But as you can see by that number, the 80-20 there, with only 20% utilizing it on their active rentals, that's just an indicator of you can't use those boxes all the time. You've got to wait for those properties to go vacant, and for the most part, the property management industry is still attempting to show properties while an occupant is there. And hopefully, if they're able to do it successfully, they never have to put a lockbox on it. But as people bring on new clients, as people rehab homes and they pick up vacant rentals, the lockbox is a good tool to have in the toolbox. All right. What I'll do now is just kind of hop into kind of the Prem Point and Point Central integrations that we've built recently, and just kind of give you guys a quick overview of that. What I'm showing you guys now on the screen is Tenant Turner account settings. For those of you who have not seen these options before, they're available on everybody's account settings, but only the ones that you toggle on will actually show up on the rental settings page that you're more frequently visiting. So as you guys know, Tenant Turner can work with the electronic lock boxes. Those are the code boxes, combo lock boxes. Instructions only is utilized from time to time when you have maybe an HOA or a gate, or you have to meet somebody at a leasing office before they can actually go through to the property. The URL link option is utilized by people, and this is only some markets where people do this, but it's when you want the person to really complete a full application before going to view the property. And so the most common ones we see people utilize are CodeBox and Combo Lockbox. But now we have options here for PremPoint and Point Central. So we'll go ahead and turn these options on. I'll talk a little bit about each one at a high level, but PremPoint, some of you guys may have seen at some of the NARPM shows. PremPoint is a great tool that is really meant to be an all-access solution. So whether it's for tenant leads that Tenant Turner is scheduling to access the locks using PremPoint, or it's the current tenant, or it's your vendors, what PremPoint provides is Bluetooth locks for the home, and then a app that allows you and other people on your team to track and allow access to that property. And so it's a very detailed tracking mechanism. If you've got a person who's going to go view a property, they'll receive a link from Tenant Turner to download the PremPoint app. The PremPoint app will come with a key, essentially a virtual key, that person can use their Bluetooth connection on their smartphone to then unlock the PremPoint Bluetooth lock. And the great thing about PremPoint in those locks is, with your code box, obviously that's something that you would utilize just when the property is vacant in order to get it leased. And certainly you could utilize it for maintenance reasons as well. PremPoint is the electronic lock that would allow you to offer that as an amenity to your tenants after they've signed the lease and moved in. So instead of you having to manage keys, and instead of folks using an actual key to get into the property, they would be using their smartphones, and it would be an amenity that you would be able to offer to them. Point Central is similar in the regard that it is an electronic lock, but Point Central, instead of it being a Bluetooth lock, it's a keypad lock. And the keypad lock connects to the Point Central hub that is located in the home. And through our integration with Point Central, we're able to generate those unique one-time use codes that are similar to how we do it with CodeBox. But the big difference is with Point Central, we're able to send those codes to the Point Central hub and therefore to the Point Central lock in near real time. So it's much more secure, and we can provide a specified window of time of 90 minutes for which that code will be good for. And so you're able to constrain how long that code is good for longer than you're able to constrain how long the CodeBox code is good for. And as we talked about a little bit earlier with Point Central, it is a whole home automation solution. So not only do you get the smart lock, but you can get a smart thermostat, you can get cameras, you can get water sensors, you can get security sensors that would be available for doors and windows. And it's really meant to be a whole home solution that allows you or your owners to manage those rentals pretty much without ever having to go to it to keep an eye on it. And with Point Central, I will say just kind of a little bit about the price points with CodeBox. We sell those at $69 a box, and that's a one-time fee. With PremPoint, the locks can cost over $100, $150 to $250, depending upon which lock and which plan you're on. And then there's an additional monthly fee. With Point Central, for the hub, for the lock, and for a thermostat, which is their base package, you're going to pay between $500 and $1,000. Those upfront fees are often passed on to the property owner and can be as an alternative to the rekeying. Can be part of your pitch to them that it's an amenity that more tenant leads are looking for, and it will help them rent their property faster and then continue to provide them more insight. And then with Point Central, in addition to the cost of the hardware up front, there is a monthly service fee that goes along with that as well. And what a lot of people are doing for the PremPoint and Point Central monthly service fees is they're passing that on to the tenant. The tenant is getting more data, new ways to access their home, more smart home amenities that connect with the Alexas and the Google Homes and things that they might be interested in doing. And so you can charge them, a specific fee to cover, basically that type of amenity. So that's how those types of tools work, and that's how Tenant Turner can integrate with them. Do you guys have any questions about PrimPoint or Point Central? And I'd be curious if anybody on the call has, kind of started exploring those as options. And if so, what's kind of prevented you from moving forward? Or do you think you might be moving forward to adding some of those to your homes?
I have a question.
Yep.
How many people are using this currently with Tenant Turner?
So with PrimPoint and Point Central, it's just a handful of folks who have started to utilize these types of tools. And as you can imagine, one of the biggest impediments is getting the owner bought into it, like literally bought into it, and having them pay for the hardware. As you guys know, you can pay for Tenant Turner as a tool to streamline, your leasing process. You can buy a code box at $69 each, and you can move it from rental to rental as you have vacancies. With PrimPoint and Point Central, there is kind of an installation component. So there is that step there where you have to have the owner buying into using smart locks. Some owners are actually starting to ask for this type of technology from their property managers. And if nothing else, it's good to be educated on it, because we are seeing this trend and this movement towards these types of smart locks and smart home tools. But it is still very much in its infancy.
Do you have any marketing material you could share with us so that we could explain it or really understand it better?
Absolutely. Yeah. I have a couple of documents that I can share with you guys. I'll send those over to Aaron, so that way you guys will have access to them. And I think that's the stage we're at as an industry. There's demand for these types of tools, oftentimes from property managers, because you can get more data using these smart home technologies and these smart locks than you can just a simple keyed lock. It helps with the key management side of things that can help move you away from having a key holder and having to constantly rekey these different tools. So there's definitely demand for it, but it is in its infancy. So I think everybody is just trying to get educated on it. So I'll definitely share those flyers so you guys have access to them.
And then who would do the installation for these things for PrimPoint and Point Central? And what do those installation costs look like?
Yeah, so the installation would be basically the same as if you went to a home and had to do a full knob deadbolt replacement. So it's not just like rekeying a quick set or something like that. They would have to replace the hardware. And if you had your own vendors that you would be able to do that, that would work fine. Basically what PrimPoint and Point Central provide is a kit. That kit includes, for Point Central, a thermostat, the lock, and the hub, and there is some installation components that go with that. PrimPoint, it's just the lock. There's no hub or thermostat with those, so it's a little bit easier. There is a network of installers that I know PrimPoint can recommend, but that obviously is on a location by location basis to know if they're in your area.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Other questions on PrimPoint, Point Central, or even CodeBox or anything else self-access related? Okay.
What's the cost again on the PrimPoint? Just that, not some of the other add-on features that you were discussing.
Yeah, in the PrimPoint, the locks can cost between $100 and $250, and that's based upon how many are purchased, how long of a commitment you make, so that is a subscription service, and the type of lock. Actually, I'll pull up PrimPoint. So PrimPoint.
Because Nate and I were looking at that before. Is that using Wi-Fi service, or is that using Wi-Fi still, or is that using cell service now?
So it's actually not using either. So these these locks here, they, instead of having Wi-Fi or the cellular signal like the Point Central ones do, these are Bluetooth locks, and it basically uses the connectivity and network information from the person's phone who approaches the
Okay.
home. Yep.
Okay.
That's how they're able to keep the costs lower, because there's less hardware and less connectivity going into it. But I would say, when we've done testing with these, the biggest impediment people have is getting tenant leads to download an app. And over the past 6 to 12 months, what PrimPoint has done is they've actually been utilizing some new deep linking technologies that allow people to more easily download the app without it being kind of an intrusive feel. If you ask somebody to download an app, they're probably going to say no. The way that it works with PrimPoint is we can send a deep link into the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store that makes it easier for the person to just download the app and utilize it as a key. It auto registers their account. It already knows which home they're at, and therefore all they have to do is accept and then wave the phone in front of the lock, and it will unlock for them.
Okay, so it's not an intrusive 5-minute process of downloading the app, registering, all of that stuff.
Exactly, and that's kind of how it started. So depending upon when you guys looked at it, that may have been one of the things that you noticed. One of the things we noticed too, and definitely something we provided feedback on. Because tenant leads, one, nobody really wants to download an app, but a tenant lead definitely doesn't want to download an app for something that they may not utilize on a more regular basis. So what they've done and what they've come up with, I think, is a really good solution. Keeps things secure, keeps the costs low, but allows people to access those properties with the Bluetooth that's enabled through their app.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
And do you think more and more people are going to be going to this product versus the locks?
Versus the lock boxes?
Yeah. The lock boxes, our issue with those have been, I don't know, 1 in 10, 1 in 15 seem to have issues about once a year.
Yep.
And is it kind of the same with this? I mean, when you go to technology, there's more room for error and issues versus just a dumb lock per se.
Yep. Yeah. And that's, any of these hardware items, for example, they all have a battery, and that battery will ultimately die, whether it's a lock box or a smart lock. Even the Point Central items, the Point Central hub would be plugged in, and you don't have to worry about any sort of electrical issues there regarding them losing power. But any of these smart locks, they do take a battery, and over time, those will eventually die, and that can become an issue for folks. Even the quality of some of these locks, they're improving. Like the Cyprex and the Slade here, those are both good locks, but they've run into some quality issues as well. So candidly, there's no perfect solution yet. The industry is still trying to get there with great hardware that is sturdy, is at a price point people can afford, and has that lasting staying power that doesn't require somebody to go in and swap out a battery every 2 years, 3 years, things like that.
Okay. Calvin says, installed 2 Cyprex locks on my personal property. Hard to install. Don't try it yourself unless you're pretty handy.
Yep.
So kind of FYI there, guys.
Yep. That's the nice thing about the lock boxes still, is that, you can, as long as the box is functioning properly, you type in the shackle code, you attach it to the front door, and you can pull it off when the property's been leased. With these, there is more of an upfront commitment. Get the owner on board, get the owner to pay for it, get it installed. And so that's why we've seen kind of slower adoption with these. But I think, like Calvin's doing, being able to test it out on a personal property or, a portion of your portfolio, is a good thing. I think that these tools are mature enough that you can do that as long as you're comfortable with the price point that they come with.
Yep. Kevin also just said they do work very well, though. So once they're installed. So you say the battery life on most of these are about 2-3 years then?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep. So with these locks, with the lock boxes, anything with a battery, that's just something to keep in mind. Another thing that we're working on is partnering with a new lockbox provider. So, Aaron, as you mentioned, 1 in 15 boxes, something will come up with it, whether it's, the battery issue, a button issue, or other issue that's associated with the code boxes. So we're in early talks with a couple of more premium lockbox providers. And with that, we hope to be able to provide an alternative to CodeBox, which gives you guys the option. The CodeBox is a good box at a good price, a really good price actually. And then some of these premium boxes may cost twice as much, but might be half the headache or last twice as long. So that's something that we're moving toward. PremPoint and Point Central we see as the future, but we don't really see the lockbox going away completely yet. So we'll continue to have our partnership with CodeBox, but we would like to be able to offer our customers an alternative in case you're looking for something a little bit different, maybe something of a higher quality, but it will come at a higher price point.
Excellent. Anyone else have questions here?
Hi, this is Jim in Scottsdale. Real quick question about the authorized contact. So that's something that you can't give to like a company, like a maintenance service. It has to go to an individual, like an employee within the maintenance service. Is that correct?
That's correct. So basically what we're looking for and what's most important to us is a cell phone number. And so one of the things that you could do is you could have, if there's a coordinator for that maintenance company, they could be the one who is given access to it, and then they could communicate with the person out in the field, which they probably already are anyway. So if you simplify it from your perspective, add the coordinator, that would be the point person to the 10 potential field representatives out there. If it's a smaller company, then I'd just recommend, put the 2 to 3 field reps in the system if you could be working with them. That way you can track very specifically who's going to the house.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep, sure thing. Yeah, that's a good segue. If anybody has any questions on anything whatsoever, what you saw here today, or maybe something that we didn't cover, now's a good time to ask.
Can you go over the call center option?
Yep. Yeah. So the call center option is we partner with Virtually Incredible. Virtually Incredible has 3 different services: a leasing line call center that we basically sell through Tenant Turner. They also, you may have heard about them for rental application processing or video tours. And what we do with Tenant Turner is through our partnership with them is we're able to record all calls. We're able to track them and store those recordings and tracking that data through your Tenant Turner account, so you don't have to worry about going to a different place for it. We created a custom interface for the Virtually Incredible call center representatives to automatically be able to add your leads into Tenant Turner and get them scheduled based upon your availability. So it's much better than an answering service, where they're just taking a message. The Virtually Incredible call center service would actually take the calls, get them pre-qualified, get them scheduled, have appointments on your calendar without you ever having to speak to a person. And so that's a nice addition to have, particularly during the busy season. So from your perspective, you guys can turn that on and off as you need to. As you start feeling overwhelmed with calls, flick it on, we'll answer the calls. And their team works 9 to 8 during the week, and then 9 to 5 over the weekend. So, and that's in your time zone. So it's a nice feature for you.
What's the price?
So the cost of the call center is $100 a month, and that includes up to 50 minutes of talk time, and then it's just 60 cents a minute thereafter. And so if you're an existing Tenant Turner customer, we have all of your call-in data, so we could definitely help, provide you an estimate of what we think your expenses might be. Another nice benefit to managing it through Tenant Turner is you can actually cap how long what your budget might be.
So it sounds like that's something we could turn on and off as we wish. Also, there's no subscription or anything like that.
That's correct. Yep. It's just a kind of a month-to-month thing. So if you said you wanted to turn it on, March, April, May, June, and then if things start to cool off after August or so, you could turn it off during the winter months. What we find is, you have the ability to turn it on and off as you need to, but there's always something going on. You're either busy during the leasing season, you need some extra hands being able to answer those calls, or we kind of get into the holidays and you don't want to answer those calls during Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. So it's something you can obviously leave on during all those times, or, toggle on and off as your budget and time allows.
The thing with for me on this, I wouldn't turn off the subscription with Virtually Incredible. I would just turn off the ability for the phone calls to get transferred over. Excuse me. That way you don't have to go through the whole onboarding and stuff like that all over again.
Yep.
What about Spanish speaking?
Spanish speaking. So there is a Spanish speaking call center. So for those of you who are familiar with Virtually Incredible, the folks who answer the calls are in the Philippines. They have a direct line through to a communication school there that teaches folks to speak English, and then they're able to recruit folks in order to staff up the team. So that's worked really well for them. And then about a year ago, Todd Breen, who founded Virtually Incredible, got connected with some folks in Colombia. And then they also have a Spanish-speaking queue that's available for you to sign up with as well.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably been going for probably the last 6 months or so. I was talking to him last PM Grow Summit, and he was I was giving him some pointers on that from people that we hire. So.
Yep. That's great. Yeah.
With this, guys, if you're finding Tenant Turner, to me, is a great product to use, especially during the busy seasons. If you're having a hard time renting a property out, you may want to take the Tenant Turner part of the Tenant Turner product off and have people text you directly, be able to email you, text you, call you directly, because it does a great job getting people in the funnel. Sometimes people don't want to be in that funnel, and you may have to, if during the winter season, or on a particular property, if you're not able to get it rented quickly, take it out of that system for a week and kind of test it and see how it goes without that. But during the busy season, if you've got 20 properties and not using Tenant Turner, good luck.
That's right. And actually, that reminds me, there's another feature that we built about 6 months ago that some of you guys may not be as familiar with, but it's a messaging tool that we've created within Tenant Turner, similar to the Appfolio messaging tool that you guys might be utilizing now. But it allows you to see all the automated text messages that Tenant Turner sends. It allows you to send your own personalized text messages through your Tenant Turner phone number and any of the responses that come back from the tenant lead, all in one place, all utilizing your Tenant Turner phone number without you having to give up your personal cell phone number in order to text people. So this is an add-on that's available from your billing page. It is an additional $15 a month. But it's really helpful if you ever need to break away from the automated communication that we provide people, and gives you the opportunity to provide something more personal, more customized, and that really helps move people through the process if you have one of those rentals that are hard to move.
James, what's a few of the other new upgrades or things that you guys have done over the last few months, and what are you guys looking to update and add over the next 6 months or so with Tenant Turner?
Yeah, great question. So in March of 2018, we launched the full redesign. So for those of you who started using us after that, Tenant Turner used to look quite a bit different. So this is now, a more user-friendly, more visual appealing look and feel. It's also something that is more mobile friendly. This is just a mobile view of things. So that's something that happened last March. The messaging feature got released, last summer. It's, something that we've been iterating on, to continue to improve it. More recently, a lot of it's been around access and integrations. So as I mentioned, one of the big things that we're most proud about, because I feel like it's helping us kind of leapfrog any of the other scheduling providers, is our artificial intelligence that we're leveraging in order to more quickly and easily detect fraud and scam activity and prevent it in the future automatically. And so that's something that we've put a huge emphasis on. You won't realize it by looking at Tenant Turner, but know that you guys are being protected by the software through our third-party integration with a fraud detection tool, through our artificial intelligence that we've built in, and it allows you to utilize that self-access, which is hugely time-saving for you, in a safe, secure way. So the Prem Point, Point Central, other things that were recently released. Next thing we're going to be rolling out is going to be another lockbox partner. And so that's something that we'll have rolled out over the next couple of months. And I think that will be a nice benefit to folks. And then as the year goes on, we will be looking to make various improvements throughout the product and really look at the enhancement requests that have come in over the past 6 to 12 months. So if you guys have things that you would like to see within Tenant Turner, if there are opportunities for improvement on any front whatsoever, that's where we want you to reach out to us. Those of you who are using us, the little smiley face in the bottom right-hand corner. We got a team of folks standing by to help you out, and you can see we typically reply in under 10 minutes. So if there are different enhancements that you would like to see, if there are improvements that we can make for you, let us know, and we'll be happy to get that in the queue, review that alongside the other ones, and I'm sure most of them will make their way out into development in 2019.
Excellent. Does anybody else have any questions for James? All right, James. It doesn't sound like it.
Yep.
Want to thank you for coming on today. Appreciate that. Thank you for your time. Thank you everyone else for joining us, and thank you for your questions. And hope to speak with everyone throughout the week this week, and look forward to talking with you. Thanks again, James.
Sure thing, Aaron. Thanks for the time. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to come to our website, schedule a demo. If you're a current customer, like I said, chat with us. If you need to get in touch with me directly, I'm just james@tenantturner.com. Super simple. So thanks again for your time, everybody. And thank you, Aaron.
Excellent. Thank you. Bye-bye.